What is up, guys? It is Rudy Henderson back, and it is Star Wars opening weekend. I cannot tell you how excited I am to say that. I'm going to jump right into this review, but before I do, please remember to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to know when I have more content coming on the channel. Without any other delays, anything like that, let's get into my non spoilers review for Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. So with Rise of Skywalker, you're talking about ending this new Disney trilogy, Disney's first trilogy with the series, and ending the 42-year film saga of Star Wars. And it's going to be hard to really go over everything I like and dislike about this movie without doing any spoilers. I will be uploading a spoiler-filled discussion video tomorrow with my boy Black Mantra, but for today, we're going to go over the likes and dislikes. Overall, just to give you a preview of my general opinion, I do not think that this was a bad movie. In totality, I don't think that Star Wars Rise of Skywalker was a bad movie, but it did have some bad decisions in the movie. The movie itself felt a little bit clunky. The pacing was a little bit off. There was just things about the movie that you could tell there was some reshoots, and you could just tell that there was a lot of fixing the problem of the Last Jedi. And I think that's the biggest thing with this movie is a lot of it is fixing the problems with the Last Jedi. So let me get into some stuff that I really did like. The music, first and foremost. Star Wars has had the same composer for all 42 years of the series, and he's never missed. The music is amazing. Visual effects are amazing. Action, actually, is really good in this movie. One thing that I'll say about this movie is that it is one of the faster paced Star Wars movies ever. I actually think it is the fastest paced Star Wars movie ever from the opening crawl, and I'm not going to get too much into details about all of that because then you're getting into some spoiler territory. But from the very beginning, the opening crawl, this movie is on go. It's set to go. Things are going fast. Things are going 100 miles per hour from the moment you read that opening crawl to the moment the first scene goes to the moment the movie ends. With that being said, as I said earlier in this review, the the Rise of Skywalker is really, really trying to rectify the problems that the Last Jedi basically put in this series, and you can tell that that weighed heavy on the production team, the director, and everyone involved with this movie because the first half of this movie, in my opinion, is really them calling back the Force Awakens and trying to fix the problems of the Last Jedi. And I appreciate that because a lot of people didn't like the Last Jedi. I didn't have an issue with the Last Jedi as a movie, as a Star Wars movie. I did have issues with it, so I appreciate the fact that they understand that fans didn't like it. People had some problems, so they went back to the drawing board. They went on and they fixed a couple things here and there through dialogue. But like I said, this is a movie that's based off of huge decisions that are going to affect the Star Wars lore and the Star Wars just reality for generations to come. This is the ending of a Skywalker saga, and if I'm being real with you guys, as an ending to a 9 movie franchise, this movie is very disappointing. As an ending to a 3 movie trilogy, especially with this trilogy, to me, not really having a sense of direction or purpose, it was also sort of disappointing, but that's more so because of the products that were The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens. As a movie by itself, I think that this is the best movie of the 3. I think that The Force Awakens was really a new hope in different clothing. I think that The Last Jedi tried to take too many risks, tried to be way too risky, tried to change things up way too much and didn't really follow any sort of Star Wars formula. But this movie, when it stands alone by itself, in my opinion, is the best of the 3. Story wise, we get a little bit of lore. There's some stuff that's not, described as well as you want. You get some new force powers, and of course, I'll get into a lot of that when we do the spoilers review. But there's just a lot of issues with the movie that stem from big decisions that are being made by the director because of choices of other directors. So, where I stand with the movie is I find it to be a very good movie. If you are a hardcore Star Wars fan, then you may not like the movie. That's the harsh reality of this. You really may not like this movie if you are a hardcore Star Wars fan. If you're going into this movie understanding what the last 2 movies in this Disney sequel have been and how disjointed this trilogy has been, then I think you can appreciate this movie for what it is and really enjoy it. I've heard some people say that this is their least favorite of all nine of the films. I'm nowhere near that mark on this movie. I really dislike some of the prequel movies. This isn't anywhere as bad as those, in my opinion. Again, I find it to be a good movie, but not necessarily the best Star Wars movie that we could have gotten. I believe that this movie would have benefited from getting maybe 30 to 45 more minutes. I've even discussed the possibility of there being maybe an episode 10, simply because I know that traditionally Star Wars is shot in three movie trilogies. But with the way that the story unfolded, with the way that The Last Jedi ended and left people wanting a lot more, I think that it would have been a good decision for Disney to maybe take a step back, see if they could make this movie longer, see if they could get an episode 10 in the works, because some of the ideas that are introduced in this movie, as far as people that come back, decisions that are made, aren't bad decisions, but you just wish that they could have been expanded upon more. There's also an abundance of characters, in my opinion, that were wasted. And that's nothing new to the Star Wars canon. That's nothing new to Star Wars mythology. There's characters that show up that look really cool in movies all the time that aren't used for anything or don't really get any special screen time. But there's a group of characters in particular, one group and a couple other characters that I'll point out when I get to the spoilers review, that I just, if they weren't in the movie, you wouldn't have noticed that they weren't in the movie. And I hate seeing characters like that go to waste. Either way, for my final verdict on this movie, I've been pretty firm on this. I came out the movie with very strong reactions and very strong feelings towards the movie because I am a huge Star Wars fan at heart. After sleeping on it and after seeing it a second time, probably getting ready to see it a third time, probably today before I do the spoilers review of Black Mantra, upon reflection, after sleeping on it, after really thinking about it, after having a heart to heart with myself, after talking to other Star Wars fans, the grade that I come up with this movie is a 7.8 out of 10. It was not a bad movie whatsoever. It had a lot of great beats. It had a lot of great moments. It had a lot of great callbacks, a lot of fan service. Some people don't like fan service. I'm not the biggest fan of fan service per se, but some of the stuff that they do in this movie is really cool and pays a lot of respect to the older Star Wars movies and the older Star Wars mythology and things that should have happened a long time ago. But the movie critic side of me will not allow myself to give this movie a B or an 8 or a 9. I can't give it an 8 or a 9. It just wasn't that good, but it also doesn't deserve to get anything below the sevens. So I'm going to give it a C plus, a 7.8. Let me know what you guys thought about the movie down below. Try to avoid spoilers because this is not my spoiler review, but let me know what you thought about the movie below. Do you think I've given it too high a grade? Do you think the grade that I've given it is pretty fair? Do you think that it could have gone up, could have gone down, anything? If you want, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitch. I'm going to have more gameplay videos and things coming out later. Like I said, tomorrow the spoiler full video discussion with myself and Black Manta will be going up. We'll see what he thinks about it. We'll probably give a ranking of all nine of the movies now that Rise of Skywalker is over. Either way, thank you guys for tuning into this review. Thank you guys for supporting me and listening to this content. And as always, like, subscribe, hit the button, and keep it sexy.